I basically implemented one thing that I learned from this business course that I took. And after implementing that one thing, I made $20,000 in 3 days.
That's
and
awesome.
I was like, okay, I got something going on here. This is crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And just one thing, like you can start at the bare minimum and have a lot of success. Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I'm Courtney Cook, founder of Monarch COO, where I help mission-driven entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Each week, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to explore the stories behind their successes and challenges. Whether you're just dreaming of starting a business or already building one, this podcast is here to show you that entrepreneurship is more attainable than it might seem, with insights for every stage of the journey. Today, I'm sitting down with Mal, who is the founder and personality behind MoneyTalkMal on Instagram. Mal is on a mission to help millennial and Gen Z women improve their financial literacy via easy-to-digest education and relatable living. Through her online investing, negotiation, and budgeting courses, she has coached over 1,000 women, helping develop stronger financial literacy not usually taught in our education system. She has a special focus on budgeting, investing, and salary negotiation. As a millennial mother, a bit of an anomaly in the personal finance space, and has recently been featured in The Cut, Morning Brew, and U.S. News and Money. She has served on the Gen KC Financial Literacy Panel and shares her financial expertise, plus anti-keeping up with the Joneses living on podcasts for online publications and in TV appearances, as well as her social media profiles at MoneyTalkMal. As the newbie podcaster I am, I completely forgot to have Mal share where you can find her at the end of this episode. So I'm going to tell you right now. She is on Instagram at MoneyTalkMal, where you should just go ahead and follow her right now, because I can assure you that you are going to love listening to this conversation and will follow her right away anyway. Let's dive into today's conversation and see what it takes to build a business. Hey Mal, thank you again for joining me today. I am excited. Mal and I know each other from previous workplace, and we're both in the corporate world and now both find ourselves as business owners. And when you went out on your own, I was just so pumped because knowing who you were, even when we worked together back then, I'm like, oh yeah, this girl is going to succeed and she's going to do really awesome things. So
it's crazy
thrilled.
What can happen in 5 years.
I know it is. It's really
5
really
years
crazy.
ago, pre-pandemic, we were sitting in some
small
drab cubicles in the segment of a building that had no windows, and I don't know that I saw this for either of us, but
I know.
Woohoo, here we are.
I know, it's amazing. I'm pumped for us though, but
yay.
Will you start off by just sharing about your business, who you serve, what you do, and how long you've been a business owner? And then we'll get more into just the journey of how you've gotten to where you are today.
Yes, of course. So my name's Mal. As Courtney mentioned, I'm known as MoneyTalkMal on Instagram. I'm kind of going through a rebranding right now. So depending on when this podcast goes live, if you visit my website, you might see Fueling Financial Freedom, what I formerly was branded as. But I have a financial literacy company, and I am a money coach and content creator. So I serve primarily millennial women online and really just help us, I'm a millennial woman myself, live more financially responsible and conscious lives where we are actually involved and integrated into the financial planning and decision making in our households, to the point where we can pull up a seat at the table and explain what's going on in our investment accounts and even make recommendations. And then also just helping promote a more, I want to call it, sustainable and normal lifestyle. So the internet has gotten pretty crazy with consumption and marketing, and the whole keeping up with the Jonesies has just been taken to the next level with Instagram and all of the social media platforms that we have now. So I bring a kind of fresh reality and sense of normalcy online and help inspire others to live more fulfilling lives with financially conscious and responsible choices. So that's my business in a nutshell. And I have been a business owner since I launched my business with just a random idea and like an Instagram post with about 2 followers in April of 2021.
Hmm?
So that's when it
That's
all
amazing.
began.
Yeah.
But
Crazy.
I have been full time in my business for 6 months. So it was an idea slash kind of fun side hobby for a little bit of time. And we'll get into how the journey kind of evolved. But yes, I've been a business owner for almost 4 years, like 3.5 years, but not a full time entrepreneur until about 6 months ago.
That is awesome. So when you first posted that first post, like, was it something where you were like, I'm just talking about what I'm passionate about? Or did you kind of
Yeah.
ever have this strategy in the back of your head of like, I think this is what it could be?
So I had an idea of what people were doing to generate sustainable incomes online, following the business model that I follow, selling digital products and via content creation. But really, I came to Instagram and kind of started this idea. I bought my web URL on GoDaddy on like a random Friday night because I needed another outlet that really filled a passion of mine. I was doing well in corporate America and had worked my way into really a decent role at a pretty sizable tech company. But after working in 3 different corporate environments, 3 different types of businesses, really even 3 different business models for big, large corporations, we all know who they are. I just found that I I wasn't fulfilled, and it wasn't just one company, it was the makeup and model of corporate America as it is today. And that's great for some people. I was just kind of starting to realize like this isn't what fits into my human design. What's required to be successful in corporate America is not what I want to do. And so I thought, what have I got to lose? I can either spend the next 30 years doing something that doesn't feel me, or I can take this passion of mine that I've not really ever talked about, which is money and financially responsible living, and start talking about it online. And what kind of sparked the idea was it was a passion of mine. My husband and I had been doing a lot of work behind closed doors to get ahead and be able to retire early and make those decisions that you don't see people talking about on social media. And the whole COVID pandemic really highlighted how many successful, smart, high earning people are living in a position of financial stress and anxiety. And if they're not living in that today, they're like one step away from it. And COVID really highlighted that, right? You know, there were a lot of furloughs, there were a lot of layoffs. And to me, it was very eye opening to see how many people in great, high paying corporate roles, driving the nice cars, living in the nice houses, all of a sudden they're furloughed. And it's like a major onset of financial anxiety for them. And it just dawned on me of like, wow, you know, the data is correct. Most people don't have an emergency fund. Most people are living above their means. And we should talk more about this because it doesn't have to be this way. Of course, there are challenges for people, you know, lower uh, class Americans, for lack of a better term, that aren't really making a living wage. But I'm talking the middle class, upper middle class Americans who are where they are on the brink of, frankly, disaster if anything were to go wrong in their life, simply because of a lack of education, which is in part due to the fact that we don't learn this. There's not really financial literacy being taught in our education system, even at
Mhm.
prominent, you know, 4-year institutions and colleges. And then also just kind of irresponsible decision making. And I think that, like I said earlier, social media has taken the concept of keeping up with the Jonesies and cranked it up a notch that no generation before us has ever experienced.
No, it's crazy. You were posting the other day about that the documentary you watched on Netflix. It is on my list. I hope to get to it
By
this weekend.
now, everybody
Yeah.
should watch that.
Like, I am like, oh my gosh, consumerism, I'm sure, at its finest. It's just constant. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So part of the reason I have started this podcast is I'm hoping to inspire those that maybe aren't entrepreneurs yet or have this dream that they're like, at least for me, it was, I just want to do something and I don't know what that should be, but I want to do something. But can you kind of walk me through what your background was in corporate America and ultimately how fueling financial freedom / Money Talk with Mal, how it kind of came to be, and like, did the background, were you doing, I know the answer to this, but were you doing social media for these brands, or like how did your work life then like parlay into this venture?
Okay. So I'm going to take it back before corporate America because this part matters.
Sweet.
So in high school, I went to a high school in a like a larger school district. So this was like really new in 2008.
Yeah.
When I was a junior, they brought broadcast journalism to high school. So every day, the announcements, like what was on the lunch menu, who won the football game last night, your high school announcements that used to come on over the intercom and happen every morning. They started broadcasting it via TVs in the room. And it was a broadcast journalism class that did the announcements. And so, long story short, I was in this class and I was the news anchor. And I absolutely loved that whole like idea of work. And then I went to college, and this is another fun fact that I like to share because I think it can resonate with a lot of people who maybe have limiting beliefs because of, their book smarts, so to say. I went to college and I was never the greatest student. And it's really, when I look back on it now, driven by the fact that the way that we learn and are tested, for lack of a better term, in our education system just wasn't really a good way to measure my personal capabilities. And so I was never a great student. And then I kind of had like a quarter life crisis going into college. My parents got divorced. There was all sorts of things going on. So I got a really, really bad GPA my freshman year. And long story short, that basically booted me out of the opportunity to get into the journalism school, which was ultimately my goal, was to do broadcast journalism. So I was screwed after my first semester there. I mean, I wasn't going to get the GPA to get into journalism school. I think it was, I can't remember what the requirement was, but anyways, so I switched my major and was just like, okay, I got to graduate at this point. So I graduated the business fashion degree in marketing and merchandising. So not like product development and design.
Yep.
And I landed my first job at Payless Shoe Source. If you're familiar with them, they're no longer around. They went bankrupt after I left and closed all stores in the United States. But when I accepted the job offer with them in 2013, they had 3,400 stores across the nation. And so I went there. I worked in buying roles. So I was in charge of helping lead the design and development, and then the buying of the product that went to stores. And I actually got a really solid financial background in that job.
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever worked in corporate retail knows your negotiation skills have to be sharp. Like, we were negotiating the cost of shoes down to the pennies to make sure that we could hit our margins. And we were setting pricing and managing inventory and managing the open to buy and doing weekly inventory forecasts, because all of the numbers have to work, right? Running sales reports. I learned so much in that job, but eventually the writing kind of got on the wall that some stuff was going on at this company. And I was from Kansas City, was in Topeka for this job, so kind of wanted to get back home. And next I landed a job at Hallmark, which is actually where I met Courtney. I got into Hallmark again in a buying role. That's how I got my foot in the door, but was excited about working there because of the opportunity to expand my skill set and do other things outside of retail. So ultimately, that's what I did. After a couple years working in their retail division, which was definitely the smaller division of the company, and doing buying, I wiggled my way into a job in the largest piece of the organization, which is the greetings division. And I was really excited about this opportunity because it was within the digital team. So I was working on an app that I don't think is around anymore. Maybe it is. But developed this app where you could send greeting cards, physical greeting cards to people. You just created them in the app. You could sign your name and it would send a physical greeting card in the mail to them. And then from there, just kind of by nature of a reorganization, my team, which was just me and a manager, we were kind of this scrappy little 2-man team. We got rolled into a larger team, which also managed the whole Amazon business for Hallmark, in addition to the Hallmark.com business. And from there, I got exposure to many other aspects of kind of the digital footprint of the company. I got experience working on Hallmark.com during the COVID crisis, which, as you can imagine, anyone who lived through working a .com business during that time, I mean, you saw it all. You did it all. And I learned a lot. But again, I personally I was struggling a little bit with some things going on in the company, some of the leadership that I was working under. And I thought to myself, what can I do to get a job in like full on tech with this experience? Kind of for two reasons, tying back to the financial aspect. I knew that it would pay more and have much better benefits. And I kind of just wanted a fresh start. So I then went to T-Mobile in Kansas City. It was formerly Sprint, and then T-Mobile acquired it. And so I got into a product marketing job there where I was specifically focused on app development. So like the T-Mobile app that their millions of customers use to access and pay their bills and all sorts of things. I was in charge of customer journeys on that app and learned a ton at T-Mobile as well, but never really did anything with social media to answer that question. I did a lot with marketing and customer experience, but never social media, content creation, or really anything like that. But what led me to, in my opinion, kind of I hate to use the word success, but whatever, we'll use it for now, on social media is what I think is like my ultimate, or that initial passion that I started about in broadcast journalism. Like that was just kind of in my blood, but I never made it there. Um, and I'm okay with that now because the work-life balance in that industry is insane and not great. But I think that's just part of my personality that allowed me to shine through on social media. I have no problem talking to people. I know how to talk to people in a way that's captivating and present things in a manner that's not like boring and, oh, I'm just going to scroll past that. So I think that's what's helped me because my business has been entirely built on social media. Now, obviously, I have moved off social media, have a sizable email list now. I own, quote unquote, own contacts and have a website and things of that nature. But it all started on social media. And I think that really just kind of my knack for that broadcast journalism side of it is what helped me excel there and grow a engaged audience online that has helped me in turn grow my business.
Yeah, I never knew that about you. That it makes so much sense though now hearing that story. I'm like, yeah, totally that makes a lot of sense. And I think there's probably aspects of just your parents making you like, Mallory, you're going to speak well. and
Yeah.
and probably just helped you in your childhood with the things that you did growing up as well. But when you decided, all right, I'm doing this, I'm making a business, like I am going to start this, what were some of the first steps you took to actually get things rolling so that you could move forward with it?
Yeah. Step number one is I decided on a name, which was Fueling Financial Freedom. I don't know where it just came to me. And so I bought the URL on GoDaddy. And then before I ever posted anything online, I knew through working in big corporate that I couldn't just, I mean, you can, some people do, but don't recommend. I knew that I couldn't just go online and start talking about money without ensuring that I had legal education and that I had the proper disclaimers on my website and that I knew the words that I could and could not say in
Mm-hmm.
content, because I don't ever desire to be a financial advisor or CFP. I don't ever desire to manage someone's portfolio. That's not my goal. Sure, I could go take those tests if I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
and I could go do that, and I could go make a lot of money doing that and charging people 1% of their asset. But I want to help people, everyday Americans, just improve their financial literacy because it's a major gap in the industry. So I had to educate myself and get the proper protections in place to understand first, like, before I do this, how do I make sure I'm not breaking any laws, so to say?
Yep.
And so the second thing I did was I hired a lawyer to get appropriate, website disclaimers, all of that stuff, and just to understand, like, hey, what and can I not say online when I'm talking about these things? So those are the two things that I did. And then I secured my Instagram handle. I got a couple like headshots taken to like make an announcement on my personal page that, hey, I was going to go talk about money on this other account. And I did it. I just posted a post one day and I look back on it now, it's like so embarrassing. The editing was so terrible. It was like the first time I ever used Canva, and this
Hey, you
picture of
got
me,
me. You got me. So
yeah, the picture of me is like botched and has this logo. Anyways, so yeah, then I just announced it, and then I just started brain dumping online, like all of the money things that my husband and I talked behind closed doors about, that we spent a long time learning and kind of sharpening our skill set. I just started brain dumping, and it kind of took off from there. I quickly learned what people wanted to hear more about and what people were most interested in, and I just went from there.
sweet. I love that. That's awesome. It's been really fun to watch just the journey, like you doing it on the side. And I could tell like people are loving this. Just so I could see you through that transition, like, okay, this is working and I'm gonna just take this and keep running. It's really awesome. What's
It's
been
it's been wild. So did you really follow me on like day one?
Oh yeah, 100%. I was like, this is awesome.
Wow. So
I
you're an
am cheering
OG
you
for
on.
sure.
I am an OG. Whenever you talk about your OG followers, I am part of that list.
I love it. I love it.
Yes. So, what's been one of the most unexpected challenges in your journey?
I don't know if this is unexpected,
Yeah.
but it is much more challenging than you can ever anticipate to manage, at least for my personality type, to manage the, I guess, drift that you catch from people who don't understand your decisions or don't understand like how you're making money, or that what you're doing is, I mean, it is my job now.
Yeah.
Um and so that, I guess, has kind of been like an unexpected challenge. Like, of course I knew when I started talking money about online, I mean, it's a taboo subject. I knew people are going to like have the beef about it or whatever. But there have been a lot of situations that I've been in with people who are either in my circle or kind of like distantly outside my circle, who do not respect what I do as a business or as a job and don't understand it. So when you do things that aren't in the societal norm, that aren't inside the box, like graduating college, going to work at corporate America and just doing that for 30 years, you will receive comments from people who you respect that are off-putting and kind of downgrading.
Wow.
And so that's one thing for me that I've been like, oh, okay. this is interesting. Like, I'm going to share some real dirt here. I think it's funny. And maybe some of the people will listen to this podcast, probably not. But FYI, if you are one of these people, anyone who has a business profile on Instagram gets very robust analytics about who watches their content, demographics, all of these things. And I've learned even more about this since I've gotten some bigger brand deals, and I've since hired brand management to help me manage those contracts and things like that. So they have really helped me even dig deeper into my analytics. But there are people who are former coworkers, who are, you know, friends' moms. They come to my profile and watch everything I do. It's in my analytics.
Yeah.
But don't follow me. Oh, yeah. So, FYI, I know who you are. And I personally just think it's eye-opening. It was kind of like an unexpected thing. Like, there will be people who just cannot open their minds enough to understand or accept somebody who's doing something like dramatically different than the societal norms. And for my personality type, like I said, for some people it's like, I just, whatever. I mean, I don't really give that stuff any time of day. But to me, that is like a mental challenge that I have to work through. So
that would be, that's crazy. You know, I'm still figuring out like what it feels like to be a little riskier on social as far as like face to camera. Like I can't even get there, but maybe I'm also like a lover of the taboo subjects on social. So I follow lots of that already.
Yeah, me too.
But that's just sad. It's really sad.
Oh yeah. Crazy. And it's really sad when it's like, kind of like one of your friend's moms or something, or like a coworker that I used to work really close with. Like, if you're coming and watching my stuff,
that's a manual search.
Exactly.
To go there.
Exactly. But you can't follow me. Like, that really, like, that's got something to say. And like, I don't care that you don't follow me.
Yeah.
Because clearly you're not ever interested in actually engaging with my content, but you also clearly really want to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's fascinating.
Anyways, it's kind of unexpected, but also, I also kind of like it because I've seen some people's true colors, and now I know,
you know who has your back.
Yeah, exactly. The real ones in my life, I know, and I've heard so many big successful entrepreneurs say this. Like, you will find out who your people are when you do something that is dramatically different.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. It's just going to make your network, your community, like who you surround yourself with better. And those people are going to lift you up, and they're important. Yeah. So was there a turning point or an aha moment when you were like, oh my gosh, this is going to work? Specifically, I think like I could quit my job and do this. Like what was that moment?
Yes. So in short, the aha moment was when I made $20,000 in 3 days.
Wow. That is awesome.
I was showing up online for a long time, providing free content, and I just listened to people. I was getting hundreds of DMs asking questions about things like, I don't even know how to decipher my 401k. And my financial advisor, like, he manages this, but like, he's never explained to me. Yeah. And all of these different things. And so that type of stuff is it's way too complex to present on social media. And I knew there was a way to provide that sort of education. Again, just financial literacy. I'm not telling people this is exactly where to invest your money. I'm helping people understand how to decipher the foreign language that is the financial industry so that you can make better decisions in your life, so that you can contribute to conversations logically and thoughtfully with the financial professionals that you may work with. So anyways, I created a course to help people. Specifically, it's my signature course. learn the ins and outs of investing, the A to Z of the stock market, learn how to read and pick the funds within your Roth IRA with your 401k, understand the fees that you're paying, all of the things. And yeah, long story short, I launched it. I invested in some business mentoring to better market it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do anything crazy, but I won't get into all the whole strategy. But I basically implemented one thing that I learned from this business course that I took. And after implementing that one thing, I made $20,000 in 3 days.
That's
and
awesome.
I was like, okay, I got something going on here. This is crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And just one thing, like you can start at the like bare minimum and have a lot of success. I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to all be perfect or all
no,
set up.
I have hired some contracted help at this point.
Yeah.
But like at that point, when I made $20,000 in 3 days, I was working a very demanding full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
I literally bootstrapped my entire website by myself.
Yep.
My website still isn't super great. And I was just marketing on Instagram, just talking to people. I think I had maybe 10,000 followers at the time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Maybe 500 people on my email list. So
Awesome.
I definitely was not like, it's not like I had invested a ton of money. It's not like I had done anything crazy. I had just bootstrapped things. And yeah, listen to people, what is it that you're looking for? And then I helped solve that problem.
Yeah. Cool. So at least for me and my entrepreneurial journey, my childhood was really impactful, I think, for why I've always wanted to be one. I've watched my parents be entrepreneurs their whole lives, but that's not the case for everyone. So I'm kind of curious. Will you tell me a bit about your childhood?
Yeah.
Where did you grow up? What was your family like? And kind of start from there.
Yeah. So I grew up in Kansas City, which is where I reside today. And I grew up in a household of 2 doctors. So you could say 2 individuals who definitely followed the path of quote unquote traditional success.
Yeah.
Did all the school, obviously got the good grades, made it to medical school, passed the MCAT, and made it into their, that's how they navigated their way into high earning careers. However, different than most people that I've gotten to know, either just in personal life and also online, who grew up in a household that had, high income or high earning parents, however you want to look at it. My parents they never believed in handouts. There was never I was never given mom or dad's credit card and just allowed to go like to the mall with my friends. They did a very good job of always budgeting and explaining to my sister and I that they spend in alignment with their values. And they also did a really good job of ignoring the Jonesies and presenting to us as children like why they didn't do certain things. And I'll give an example. There are little things that I noticed. Like, for example, I would go to take your child to work day with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she would park in the doctor's section of the parking garage. And this section was filled with Mercedes, Porsche, Jaguars, all those cars. My mom drove a Volkswagen Passat.
Love it.
And another big example that I can remember is in the suburb that I grew up in, there was a country club that opened. And it was really nice. And all of these people that I went to school with were joining the country club, going to the pool on the weekend, doing all the things that happen at country clubs. I didn't live in a neighborhood that had a neighborhood pool or a like big community aspect of it. And I just remember begging my parents, like, can we please join this country club. I really want to go to the pool with so-and-so and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And they just looked at me and said, we could, but we don't have any desire to pay for that sort of environment. And we would rather have a family lake home that we can, have family memories in, that we could pass down to future generations. And they built a lake home on Table Rock Lake. And I remember that's just always how they would talk about the decision making with their money. It was never like, oh, that country club costs $30,000 a year. Like, we're not paying that. It was always the explanation of why we're not doing things was always that doesn't align with our values. And here's how we spend our money instead. And I think that really helped shape my sister and I's money mindset in a very healthy way. And then also, there was just a huge emphasis on learning to earn. My sister and I never got paid an allowance for just doing like everyday life tasks, like the laundry, the dishes, things that you just have to do as an adult. We never got paid allowance for. That was just part of life. I started doing my laundry. This is not an exaggeration. I started doing my laundry when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And that was just part of life. If we wanted to earn money, my parents would be happy to help us earn money, but we needed to get creative and figure out what we could do to like provide value in the household. So oftentimes it would be cleaning the home for my mom, so that maybe she didn't have to pay for the house cleaner to come that she typically liked that month, or different things like that. We were never paid for just the reality of like things you have to do as an adult to function in life.
Yeah.
I think that was really helpful. And then also the second that we were old enough to drive, we were required to get jobs outside of the home. It didn't matter what we had going on in sports. I was definitely heavily involved in competitive sports. I did gymnastics. And then after that, I did track and diving and was on club teams. So, I had a lot going on, but I was required to work and figure out how to schedule work within that and to earn money, so that I could pay for some of the frivolous things that I wanted to do. Because my parents, they're very generous in the sense that like, yes, my bare necessities were paid for.
Mm-hmm.
I had a budget for back to school shopping. They did pay for my gas in my car, but it was like very calculated. I remember I got a certain amount for gas transferred to a debit card every month, and it was calculated. It was like, this is how many miles it takes you to get to high school every day, and this is how back, and any other gas that you need, that's on you.
Yep.
So anyways, that's what my family life was like growing up. It was very much, I didn't ever, experience poverty. I didn't ever experience scarcity, or what it would be like to not have basic needs. But at the same time, I did experience, I feel like learning from first generation high earners was a huge win for me, in the sense that my parents did grow up with some of those things that I just described. And they wanted to make sure that even though they had quote unquote made it, that we weren't out of touch with reality.
Yeah.
And I think that did wonders for my sister and I. A little bit of context about my sister. She's 3 years younger, but so for her, corporate America, that is her thing. Unlike me, I found entrepreneurship is my thing. She currently works for Target Corporate, and she's a chief of staff at Target.
Oh,
So
sweet.
both my sister and I, again, like I said earlier, I don't like the word success, but it's funny. My parents both use the same like CPA, who also kind of manages some of their finances and stuff for them. Even post divorce, they still use this guy. And it's interesting. He works with a lot of higher net worth individuals. And I found it interesting how many times he's told my parents, and then they've relayed on to me, that like, your kids are some of the most successful kids that I see, that are coming from parents like you.
Yeah.
Most of them that I see, he's like, I'm managing these finances of these parents who are draining their money on their kids, that are deadbeats, that are, like these parents are like, my kids are not going to have a retirement, so we need to hold all this money back. And they're trying to solve all of these problems for their kids. And so, anyways, I find it interesting that my parents have even gotten external feedback from people from financial professionals who look at their finances and see that like they are no longer supporting children at all, like zero. And they're just like shocked by it, which I think is crazy. And I'm not saying that to toot
agree.
my own horn. I just feel like it's very eye-opening to this era of high earning families and how much enablement occurs to the children within those families.
Yeah, I could not relate more. Some days I'm like, how is this happening? It's crazy. So, sorry, I just lost my spot here.
You're good. I'm rambling and talking a lot.
No, I love it. I love it. Goodness gracious. Okay. So who or what inspired you most as a child? Was it like your parents? Do you feel like where did a lot of that inspiration and drive come from when you were a child? And having to like, okay, I'm getting a job now, and am I like dragging my feet and I'm angry, or like what, like, do you remember some of those feelings during those times?
I think so. This is going to be a different answer, probably. It's not really a person or a book, but more of an experience. And for me, it was the sport of gymnastics. So I was a competitive gymnast, and I grew up in the era of gymnastics that, you know, I'm not going to say all of it was healthy. Obviously, tons of things have come out about USA Gymnastics that have since changed with some of the leadership that was in place. And, you know, if you've listened to any of the Larry Nasser, Marta, Bella Caroli, I wasn't on the Olympic team or anything, but those people ran USA Gymnastics, which trickled down to anybody who competed at a competitive level. Anyways, I didn't experience any sort of crazy type of abuse, but the whole mentality of work ethic and what you put in is what you get out, and the discipline that I learned in that sport has, without a doubt, had the biggest impact on my life, I think. And that's what sparked my curiosity to really think about, oh, you know, if you put your mind to something and do X, Y, and Z, like everything is figure outable, as Marie Forleo says.
Yep.
And also a lot of the people that I looked up to in the sport while I was in it, you know, Shawn Johnson, Nastia Lukin, some of those big names growing up had overcome a lot of adversity and just really helped me think bigger and have a larger sense of belief in myself, so to say, to like do anything that I wanted to do, even if the odds were stacked against me.
Yep. Yeah. That's great. I love it. So 2 more quick questions for you. One, what's one of your business goals for 2025?
So this is going to sound different than others. And most people will probably rattle off revenue goals, or I want to get this many followers, or I want to do this. I'm having a baby in 2025, and I'm due at the end of March. And as an entrepreneur, obviously, you know, you're not getting a company paid maternity leave. So one of my goals for my business is actually to be able to take a full 12 weeks off with no stress, because my whole mission is living your life in a way that you have more time freedom and that you have financial peace of mind, and you're making financial decisions that allow you to be more present and involved in the things that matter in your life. And so one of the things that I'm preparing myself for and working up for is to legitimately be able to take 12 weeks off as a solo entrepreneur, which most people don't do. Now, you may still see me showing up on social media and little things because I'm just the type of person, I can't just sit around and like twiddle my thumbs.
Yeah,
and I
you're too
also,
busy.
I don't watch TV. I like to watch documentaries, but I don't have TV shows. I don't like watching movies. So I may work, quote unquote, in some capacity, but that's really the biggest goal of mine, is to be able to be okay without making income because of the decisions that I've made and the way that I've positioned my life, to be more present for my family and just to allow myself to soak in the moments that are really going to matter at the end of the day.
Yeah. You'll never regret that time either. You will look back and be so glad that you made that decision.
Yes.
The alternative,
Yes.
you'd be probably like, probably shouldn't have spent so much time working and away from my
Right.
cute, squishy baby. But
Yes.
so one final question that I like to leave for every or ask every guest is, what's one thing you wish you knew when you started your entrepreneurial journey?
One thing I wish I knew. Oh man, there's a lot of things I wish I knew. Oh geez. I gotta think about this section. I know I previewed these questions before and I don't know where I lost this answer. I feel like one thing I wish I knew when I started was truly how much opportunity there is in the entrepreneurial landscape that is very hard to see. Like it's hard to see, what's the saying, the tree through the woods or something in the beginning. Like I said, I started it as a hobby and everything is, turned out the way it was, but I didn't truly believe in the beginning that like this was going to be a business that could sustain my lifestyle, that could potentially like, retire my husband from his corporate job down the road. I was very close-minded to the opportunities that exist in the online landscape and just in general as an entrepreneur. And I think had I had that viewpoint earlier, I would have become an entrepreneur earlier in life. I don't regret any of the time I spent in corporate America, but I don't think I would have spent 10 years there.
Yeah. Yeah. Why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah.
Can relate 100%. So, well, Mal, thanks so much for joining me today. It has been an absolute delight. And we should grab coffee soon and
We
connect.
should.
Definitely
Totally.
before the baby.
I would love to. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I hope you found inspiration and insights to fuel your entrepreneurial journey. If you're looking for support in building or scaling your business profitably, visit my website or send me an email to learn more about how I help mission-driven businesses become more profitable, proactive, and efficient. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really helps other entrepreneurs discover this show, and it would mean so much to me as well. Until next time, keep building, keep dreaming, and keep going.